Happy Thanksgiving. This is the Week 12 Sunday night edition of the PFF Forecast. I'm just thankful that Eric is being himself. He's taking BU to heart here by wearing the professorial sweater, the quarter zip.
Can we
love to see it. We're gonna do some fun stuff here. We've got we're gonna talk about our biggest surprises so far, and then predict what they will be in a few weeks. We've got 3 teams that we're excited to back and 3 that we're excited to fade going forward. And then, of course, we're going to hit the Week 13 lines. So let's rock. You did kind of have I feel like Matt Nagy might rock the dark blue quarter zip. You were definitely cheering pretty hard for him.
I would rather him just rock some good offense.
No, it's not gonna be possible.
Be you, or just honestly, just be Andy. Like Andy was good, the guy that you.
You just rereading your tweets on the podcast though is not what the people come here for. Not what they come.
I got to give the people what they want.
All right, let's start with this. Biggest surprise of the NFL season thus far for you is what?
Man. Well, obviously the Ravens, right? I think we all bet Ravens under.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't it was one of those things that was going to be a grind, right? If they lose on Tuesday, which all indications are that they will, that'll go under the 11.5. It's really hard to win 11 games more than 11 games in the NFL.
Was that the biggest surprise to you, or do you think just globally? Because
them being a solid 4 games behind Pittsburgh by the time it's all said and done, 5 games if what we see.
But is that more Pittsburgh or Baltimore?
It's both, though, right? If Baltimore doesn't shit the bed against the Steelers, they're closer, right? And then obviously the Ravens, even before the COVID situation, had a great deal of fragility associated with them, which we talked about. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think it would be that big of a drop off. I think that another most surprising thing for me is the fact that the Dallas Cowboys currently have the worst record in the NFC. I thought maybe 9.5 was a little steep for their win total, but I didn't think that they would be this bad. Mm-hmm. And even with Dak, right, they were still a losing team before then. So those two, and then my last one.
I only asked for one.
Okay, those are so I'll override. Dallas is my most surprising team.
That makes sense because you were a big fan of them, and 9.5, and so many people bet over 9.5. Not surprisingly, the Dallas fans are, they're insufferable. Okay, here's mine. My biggest surprise is that we're past Thanksgiving and the Bucs haven't figured it out offensively, and it's very clear that they haven't. And I thought this was really indicative of how bad their offense has been, because they have playmakers. So the Chiefs and the Bucs played. Chiefs and the Bucs, if you said what teams have the best supporting cast, maybe you can squeak another team in there, but I'm not really sure, because the 3 receivers that the Bucs have are incredible. They have really solid players everywhere else. It should be money for them. The Chiefs, obviously, Hill, Kelsey, the whole deal. It's amazing. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, on throws of less than 10 yards down the football field, are averaging 5.3 yards per attempt. There are 2 teams in the NFL that are worse than that: the New York Football Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles, who are very bad and do not have good supporting casts, and do not have very good quarterbacks. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers seemingly have done the opposite of what the Kansas City Chiefs do. The Kansas City Chiefs have great weapons, and they put them in space and make them even better. They leverage their abilities. The Bucs are like, hey, you guys are really good. Go win in the toughest situation possible. Like every time Tom Brady takes a shot down the field, it's like, okay, Gronk, you need to turn into Superman and make an incredible catch from 10 years ago. Oh, Mike Evans, I know you're playing on one leg. Please go jump over a defensive back. Yeah. Oh, Antonio Brown, please catch this off your shoelaces in between 3 defenders.
I mean, Romo said it really well on the broadcast. He said just everything's really tough. They make everything.
He did a good job talking about that.
They make everything difficult, which I think is the it's the right way to say it, right? Like they just make their life a living hell on offense. And it's like the analogy I've always said, was like you crossing the street on the way to the end zone. Like obviously if you do it enough, you can, but you can get hit by a car on the way in. Whereas like with Kansas City, it's really nice when you can score from 70 yards away, really quickly. That takes a lot of the uncertainty. Now, it almost ended up coming back to bite them, but like they're, still I think in a good position.
Yeah, we talked about this last week as well, which is Tampa Bay. This week they did it a little bit more because they were losing and they had to try and come back. But they were one of the most run-heavy teams on first down, which again just makes no sense because they don't even have a good running back. Like it'd be one thing if they had Walter Payton back there, but they don't. They have Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. It really makes no sense. And I wonder, this is going to transition me into what I think my surprise will be going forward. And it's actually going back to something that I talked about at the beginning of the season. And it's come back to earth, and this team has been a little bit maligned as of late. But the reason that this team is going to be okay is that their coach this season is an older coach who was able to adapt. And that's not an easy thing to do. And Bruce Arians, I would think, is a guy that might be able to do that, but he hasn't so far. The Seattle Seahawks got off to a hot start. It hasn't been great for them of late. You look at their schedule coming up, it's kind of a piece of cake. I think we're heading into week 15, and the Seahawks are the best team again in the NFC. They're in first place. The Saints are a game ahead of them, but we saw Taysom Hill. It's not that pretty in all actuality. Alvin Kamara is hurt, and that offense has ground to a halt. So my prediction / surprise going forward for people will be that the Seahawks reclaim best in the NFC.
That's not totally unreasonable.
Thank you. I'm glad it's not totally ridiculous.
I think there are people who share that opinion. Obviously, Seattle has one thing going for them, which is their defense was terrible at first and has sort of started to figure it out in a very same way that Kansas City's did a season ago. I think if Seattle can get to the middle of the pack defensively, the fact that their offense is extremely explosive can really work to their favor.
I mean, here's their schedule coming up. They have the Eagles on Monday today. Then they have the Giants. Then they have the Jets. Then they have the football team.
Yep.
So they play they play 4 of the 5 worst teams in the NFL coming up. And then they finish off with the Rams and the Niners. So heading into week 16, they should be on a 4-game win streak. The Rams are good. The Niners are good, but those are 2 winnable games. To me, the Seahawks run the table going up 13-3.
Interesting. Okay, so if you believe that, which is good, okay, let me propose something.
Okay.
Should we tease the Seahawks tomorrow night with some Week 13 games in our write-up today?
Oh, buddy. See, we made the smart decision to take down some caffeine during this pod, and I can already tell it's paying off.
So our colleague Ben Brown, when I was driving up to the office today, we kind of things went well today. We had Falcons, we had Titans.
Well, right, you're dressed nicely.
Thank you.
Clear.
We had Cincinnati against the spread. By the way, you won another steak dinner for me. Thank you. Although
ship the cattle, get the cattle on the boat from Japan. Bring them over.
I don't want to the Bengals did cover the spread. They also injured the other team's quarterback, so it was kind of a noisy game. But whatever. They also got a kick return, so it's random.
My bet was so sound that Colt McCoy couldn't even foil it.
So we were talking. So Ben said, why don't we tease Green Bay down to 2 tonight, and then Seattle down to a pick tomorrow. Now the number's already gotten out to 6.5. So you're not teasing through 0 anymore. So you can tease Seattle through 3. So that, I think, is an open teaser leg that we tack onto a few plays this coming week. Give our friends a little bit of sweat after our lock of the week hit this week.
Thank God.
Yeah.
By
Mike
the way,
Lennon was unable to.
We had a few different teasers that we proposed that were good.
What was one that would not have hit? So we had Giants teased down to basically 0. It was fine. Cleveland teased down was good. Obviously, New England teased up was good, although that closed at +1, so a tease up would not have added much value.
But if you had teased it earlier.
Dolphins teased down was good. Saints teased down at the time of the podcast obviously would have been great. The interesting thing, what do you think of the ethics of this? So it's a good discussion to have on a betting podcast. So New Orleans was -6-ish, -5-ish, right? And the COVID thing happened, and they don't move the game. Mm-hmm. So in theory, all of the Denver +6, Denver +5 bets, all are still binding. Mm-hmm. Number moves out to -15, 16, 17. Those numbers are meaningless, actually. I mean, 17's a key-ish, but as I think it was Captain Jack said, those numbers are meaningless. That's why they move so fast on betting. All those bets were binding. Now, if you would have bet Baltimore +4, +5, while that number is moving, and that almost the exact same thing happens. It's actually not the exact same. Baltimore has a legit outbreak. Denver has an outbreak or a potential outbreak within a position group. But since the game moved to a different date, your bets are not binding. What do you think of that? It's tough, isn't it? As somebody who had some Ravens, I'm pretty happy that it moved.
Right, you're happy that it moved.
But if you had some Denver, how pissed are you? And do you have a right to be?
I am a huge proponent of anything that can make sports betting more friendly is the right word. So much of sports betting in the past and currently is viewed as a slimy, sleazy dumpster, right? And I think there's a reason for that, right? It was happening in Vegas. Here's what happens in Vegas.
Offshore,
the whole deal, right? So I'm always a fan of sportsbook being hey, this happened, and we realize that you are depositing money in our account and allowing us to hold this money basically as a fucking bank. Mm-hmm. We're going to do right by you. So I always think doing right by the sports bettor is the right thing. And the right thing to do in that situation would be to say, hey, would you like to change your bet?
Yeah.
To me, that you're making a huge profit off of this stuff, right? And I understand there's probably some pretty large bets in those situations, but I just think you've got to do the thing that makes the most sense. And that's what would make the most sense, is to say, hey, this thing happened, we're going to change it.
And they clearly do it in some cases. So for example, there's a certain sports book we used to know who on election bets paid out Biden and essentially refunded Trump. And I think one of the reasons they're doing that is they profiled the Trump voters and said, well, we're going to get this money back in a couple bets anyway. Mm-hmm. And so it's just recycled. That's what, I'm going to give this away, but it's why the sports book says, look, you get a Tennessee +63, on FanDuel today, go and bet. And they're like, well, why is this free money? Well, they know you win that bet with 95% probability, and you take that money, you roll it over, and eventually you lose, right? Some people profit off of it, but some people don't. And I think that's the whole point is and that was what always irritated me about the election, where they didn't pay out for a long time, was because it's well, most sports bettors are just going to roll that thing back into your business. So it doesn't make any sense. And I think the same thing's true with things like this, but it's clear that, I think it depends. There might have been some books that paid that refunded it, but the most of them, those bets were binding. If you bet Denver +5 or +6 or whatever.
And here's the problem with that. The problem with that is the transparency there and the seemingly like there's no real rubric there.
Yeah.
So you as someone that has invested your money in this particular bet, you go, oh, I wonder if they're just doing this because the way they're leveraged, this makes it profitable for them.
Well, and that's always the case with things like live betting. Like, there's always the thing about like the 10-second delay, and they only sort of like accept the bet that in that 10 seconds became negative EV,
right,
and they decline the one that becomes positive EV for you. That's always like an issue, and I think obviously the providers that can do a better job of leveraging risk to a degree where they can sort of be better towards the customer, but also better towards making a profit will win. But right now, it's certainly not that way.
An interesting tangent, but I do have one thought that I've been thinking about for a little while. We are continuously moving away from needing to go to games. The one place where going to games has a real benefit would be live betting, right? And the opportunity to be in the stadium watching the game and betting live, where you're not beholden to the delay. If you stream, for example, you're even further behind.
You should only live bet during commercials if you have a delay. I mean, it's
yes.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to be able to get a line that's accurate unless you're going during a commercial.
Well, you just have way less information. You're basically flipping
right.
And the live lines are minus 120, which really.
What I'm saying is you probably don't know what the line should be when you're making the bet if you're not doing it during commercial. But do you think maybe that's a way to re-incentivize people to go to the games? You have an opportunity to bet the game live, actually knowing what's going on. And if you offer a large enough swath of bets, like how much fun would that be, right?
Yeah.
And
that's a way to increase engagement for sure.
You can do this in like Macau, for example, right? You can bet on like anything that happens. Anyways, let's do the 3 that we want to back and 3 that we want to fade. I'll let you go first. Who are the 3 teams you're looking forward to? Actually, let's go fade first.
Okay.
3 teams you want to fade going forward.
I hate doing this because I really like the collective. Cleveland's a team I want to fade.
Oh, looks like you've already got one on my list.
8-3, but Baker threw his first touchdown today since he was in Cincinnati a month ago.
Yes, but
the weather stuff.
You made the point on the weather,
but it's still out.
A decent amount of that game, and I'm the reason I put them on here is that they barely beat Jacksonville with Mike Glennon.
Yep.
That worries me. It worries me. Now, they didn't have Myles Garrett. He's fantastic. But going down the stretch in games that are important, your quarterback has to be able to play well in high-pressure situations. And I'm not sold. Now, I do think that Baker Mayfield has gotten unlucky. First off, he was drafted by the Browns. Second off, he's then had this weird carousel of coaching and offenses. And it's a little concerning that he hasn't taken to Stefanski quickly as, enough. But look, he's been busy filming progressive commercials. So, you got to cut him a little bit of slack. I have Cleveland on my list as well.
Okay. I'm going to also go. Now, I'm going to contradict myself because I tweeted out about how the Giants shouldn't be 6.5-point favorites against anybody, especially on the road. But after watching a decent amount of that Bengals game, I'm going to go Bengals. Like, they're terrible, and they can't protect, and Brandon Allen stinks. He's better than Ryan Finley. Like, I think the result would have been worse had they started Ryan Finley. But that's not a coaching staff that can overcome much of anything, and it's a team that I don't think can overcome much of anything. And then my last one, and man, this is hard to do because this is a team that I already talked about them. Dallas. Dallas is a team I think they're going to give a good effort here or there at some point in this. They're going to give a good effort at some point. But when it becomes clear that they're like a game, 2 games, 3 games out of first, I think it's just going to be a lot of quit. There's a lot of veterans on that team that aren't very good. There's a lot of replacement level players who aren't very good. And there's probably a few, let's say, situations that have a foot out the door there.
Okay, you mentioned the Browns. That was one of my 3. The other ones, Philadelphia, coming out that Jalen Hurts is getting some run with the first team. I would not feel as strongly about fading the Eagles if we knew Jalen Hurts was going to start, but Carson Wentz is playing so poorly. That whole organization, it feels weirdly Lionsy in the way that it appears there may be discontent there. They're obviously not at the depth that the Lions are, but it's not a good situation there. And then this is one that in thinking about where the public would be and where I think there might be a little bit of advantage. And this is a tough one because I love Sean Payton.
Yeah.
But the New Orleans Saints, to me, are an interesting team going forward because what will the narrative be around Taysom Hill? In fantasy leagues, he's winning people fantasy leagues. I mean, he's running for touchdowns. They obviously blow the doors off the Denver Broncos. But when it comes to a situation where they're playing another good team, and they will be shortly, and I don't know when Drew Brees is coming back, but they do have the Kansas City Chiefs on their schedule. Will it be an opportunity to fade them because their defense has been something that's winning them games, and you don't want to count on that week to week. So that's my third team. Are you surprised? How do you feel about the Saints?
The thing about the Saints is that I do think that they have the ingredients to be the best team in the NFC. And I think that they have been for probably a month. And obviously that's a team that eventually you want to fade because the market's going to be too high on them. The Taysom Hill thing complicates things, right? When Breeze comes back, I think people might fade them a little bit just because when Breeze came back a season ago, they covered against Arizona, but then they, after a bye, went on to kind of struggle a little bit. They lost to the Falcons at home. They had some games that were not quite as they barely won against Carolina, a game that we had, etc. So, the Saints are a weird team for me.
Let me put some things in perspective for you. Taysom Hill averaged 4.9 yards per attempt. Brandon Allen averaged 4.7 yards per attempt.
Jameis averaged almost double that last year, by the way.
Cam Newton, in a disastrous outing, averaged 4.7 yards per attempt.
Yeah, and Allen was one win away from that. Those three being 3-0 today, like one drive. Okay, here are teams that I want to back.
Okay, curious how many of ours overlap.
Yeah. Down the stretch here, I want to back San Francisco.
Ding. There's one.
San Francisco is one of the best coached teams in the entire league. And while they are their F of X is hurt. Their F prime of X.
We have enough listeners that you
healthy.
Can't just throw out F of X here.
Their state of their system is injured. The change in their state of system, they're getting more healthy.
Yes.
So that's a team I want to back. Good coach, a lot of motivated people on that team, and sniffing a playoff hunt. I mean, they're one game behind Arizona. They play Arizona again. They have an opportunity to make the playoffs. And I think of the 5 and 6 teams in the NFC, so obviously Minnesota today with a good effort. They're probably going to get back to 500 next week against Jacksonville. Down the stretch, it's going to be tough for them. Bears are dead. I mean, you watch the team tonight, you think anything, like they're going to finish 5-11.
Yeah.
So the Niners are the 5 and 6 team to look out for. Speaking of another 5 and 6 team that I want to back, and I think people are going to look at this and say, "What do you mean? You're resulting here? They beat the Cardinals, but they did so horribly." The New England Patriots are a team at 5 and 6 I want to back. We thought about Bill, we thought about them tanking, all that kind of stuff. That's not actually happening. They're playing hard every week. They got lucky this week, but like the passing game besides this week has been pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. And Cam obviously brings a lot to that team. They are 2 games out of the 7th seed in the AFC. I think that's going to be enough of a carrot for them to continue to play hard here. They do play in the AFC East, which again is not a schedule full of world beaters. So they're going to be a team, including that starting this week, they're underdogs. I like to back them. And then lastly, a team that I'm a team that I'm going to be backing as a spunky spoiler down the stretch, and that's the Houston Texans at 4-7.
Yeah, so you have two of the ones
So
that
Houston,
I have on here.
Houston overlaps with you as
Yeah,
well.
because I love Deshaun Watson. I mean,
but it's also, this has so much history written all over it, right? Like Romeo Crennel did the same thing with Kansas City. Leslie Frazier did the same thing with Minnesota in 2010. Like, there are interim coaches that take over disasters with talent and get them above 500 for like the last stretch of the season. That has Houston written all. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Houston finished 7-9 or 8-8.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And by the way, they have the quarterback to do it. Like,
Yeah.
in order to run this streak, you need great quarterback play. Deshaun Watson is playing as well as any quarterback.
Yeah.
He and Patrick Mahomes are playing the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
You don't get to play Detroit every week, but you do get to play a Colts team that's coming down from a really bad performance in a must-have. Like, that was a must-win game this week at home. And now
They basically have no. Yeah.
Now they have to go on the road and face
Houston
face
on
Houston.
one.
Then Houston goes to Chicago, which we've already seen that's a dumpster. Then at Colts. Then Bengals go to Houston, and then Tennessee by week 17 might be resting their starters, right? So like, if they could split with the Colts,
Run the table potential is there.
Yeah, there's a lot there to like about Houston. Now, kiss of death because Romeo Crennel.
You have kissed them a couple of times, but they came through for us on Thanksgiving. Okay, I had the Niners as well, and I'll say this: what was beautiful about that game? Everyone's been talking about how Sean McVay and what's his name, Brandon Staley, I believe I got that right, are this beautiful couple of they're winning with defense, but McVay's an offensive wizard, yada yada yada. And Shanahan and Robert Saleh probably saw that on Monday night and said, fuck these motherfuckers. And they came in, they gave up a defensive touchdown. Nick Mullins is out there half the time not knowing what's going on. And they were brilliant. They now have Jason Verrett and Richard Sherman. Quant Williams, by the way, didn't even play this week, but he's a solid slot corner. Like, they have the potential to have a really good coverage unit. And offensively, there is no coach that does a better job of leveraging the players that he has. Like, it is just period, like point blank. There's no one that does more with the tools with the players that he has than Kyle Shanahan. Like, speaking of spoiler, they're not just a spoiler. They could get into the playoffs. And I believe that they're a team you want to back. I'll be backing them, of course. Surprise no one. And then the only team that we have differing between the two of us, I like the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, Bevel
freed from the shackles of Matt Patricia. They have a lot of players who are not going to be necessarily a part of the rebuild. Matt Stafford is a guy that, in my opinion, these guys are going to want to play for. They're going to get Kenny Golladay back at some point. I like the Detroit Lions.
Kenny Golladay, per SB Nation, liked Matt Patricia's firing on Instagram.
He did.
There isn't an offense in the NFL whose complexion changes more when a player's out than the Lions with Golladay. And the thing is Bevel has long been a coach who was a hot head coaching candidate, and he has never been a head coach before. Of the interim coaches, he has sort of, I think, the most to go for. By the way, were you surprised that Jacksonville fired Caldwell and not Marone?
Doug Marone. Who would have been the interim head coach?
Well, I don't know, but like, I actually, when I watch Jacksonville, they're playing hard.
Oh yeah, I don't
think Marone's done a terrible job. In fact, like I was, you want
to know what my take is on it?
Yeah,
I think that Marone is the opposite of Patricia in that the players really respect him.
Yeah.
People in the organization really respect him. We're in a year where you need stability. You need someone that's going to help lead your team. And to me, Doug Marone is the guy in that organization that leads people. And you need one of those people.
Yeah.
And I think the Khan family really respects Marone and likes Marone. And we're like, look, we need you here. Whether you're going to be the coach of this team going forward, that depends on the GM we hire. But Doug Marone,
because you look at them, they beat the Colts week 1. They covered the spread against the Titans in week 2. They kind of let down against the Dolphins, but the Dolphins ended up being a pretty good team. They were close against the Bengals. Close-ish against the Texans in that game. We had the over, didn't end up getting there. Close against the Chargers. They had the lead in the fourth quarter of that game. Close against Texans, lost by 2 in Luton's first start. Close against the Packers. Blown out by the Steelers, but the Steelers, are pretty good. They're not the best team in the league, but they're pretty good. And obviously, and then today they cover the number. They've lost 2 games this season, by the way, 27-25, which scoregami, you think about first time probably that's ever happened.
Ready to get into week 13?
Let's do it.
No Thursday night game because that was going to be Dallas-Baltimore. That's been moved.
Do we have any college football this Thursday?
What are you putting the odds of Baltimore-Pittsburgh being played at right now?
Minus 300.
I've been checking in with you every hour or so.
Yeah, minus 300. I think there's so much incentive here, and I hate, I said this to you, and you kind of pushed back a little bit, but I'll try it out again. Them playing that Denver-New Orleans game without this huge backlash, just basically them going through with it, I think is a paving the road for going through with Tuesday's game, and it not being that big of an eyesore. There are 2 Thursday night games this week: La Tech in North Texas and Air Force at Utah State. So,
dear God,
we'll have football.
Okay, I have only 2 games that are really, in my opinion. Actually, I'll put a third in here. Okay, we'll start with New England, Los Angeles. This is the game that I brought into this group.
Yep.
Justin Herbert, a little better this week, but still wasn't great. Maybe it's getting to him that he has a hot girlfriend and a bad haircut, and now he's feeling a little self-conscious.
That tilting you more than anything.
It tilted me?
I thought. You were amused by this thing.
Oh, it didn't. No. So here's my opinion on this. I think it's very important to understand whether a quarterback that you're about to draft in the first round has it or not. And one decent way to look at that is, potentially seeing how he fares with, other people. And had I known this information, I would have been, potentially much higher on Justin Herbert.
Right. Should have put it in the models.
Yeah, I didn't.
Put the model in the model.
Basically, what I was saying was I was impressed by Justin Herbert, and it made more. His haircut being so bad was now something that I am very impressed by.
Yeah. Put the model in the models.
That being said, I have that relationship lasting. No, that relationship does not last through the season. And I have the Los Angeles Chargers as a 3-point underdog at home.
Wow. So I bet this. So I bet this last week. So I kind of had a head start, but it looks like I'm #Shrap because the Chargers.
What did you guess this line was going to be?
2.5 Chargers favored.
Oh.
And I bet New England plus 2.5 like 3 days ago. Now, I'm not quite right because it's Chargers are laying 1.5 at home. So it was a similar situation as last week where New England's getting points in a situation where I'm not sure that they're the worst team.
They're not the worst team. They're not. I'm sorry. Did you watch the Los Angeles Chargers today?
Yeah, I mean, egregious.
I've heard,
shout out to our friend.
I've heard great things about Anthony Lynn.
Shout out to our friend Josh Hermsmeyer, who was on the under for that game train.
He knew that Anthony Lynn literally has never experienced a goal line situation with under 25 seconds left. That was an atrocity. That game should have gone over. It was a disaster.
But it wouldn't have gone over even if they scored that, though.
Right, I get that.
I mean,
Eric, I understand how math works. I'm saying, did you watch the whole game?
I mean, the
disaster.
The halftime was a disaster when they got 4th and 2 with about 35 seconds left.
God,
and instead of
so dumb.
Calling a timeout right away and giving an honest attempt at a 4th down, or letting the clock drain all the way to 3 seconds and running a Hail Mary so they're the last team with the ball in the first half. Anthony Lynn called a timeout with 21 seconds, which basically meant you go in for 4th down. If you miss it, they have a chance to get a field goal on you, or you have to punt. And they, I believe, punted.
They did.
Yeah. Anthony Lynn seems like a great guy. He's absolutely
struggles
dreadful
in the decision making.
What I said on Twitter was, all the boxing matches they had the previous night, there should have been one with Anthony Lynn versus the clock. I would have paid the pay-per-view toll for that.
What about Trubisky versus
The left side of the field? Yeah.
By the way, the best thing about that game was he almost gets Allen Robinson killed for like the 40th time in his career. And every subsequent target, Allen Robinson is catching and going down, bracing to get
I've done that before when I played.
Shredded.
Like a guy throws me a YOLO, like a hero ball, and I'm just like.
Okay, so the Patriots should not be an underdog in this game.
The problem is the Chargers can score pretty well. And the Patriots are a team. Are we sure? So how did Hopkins do today?
Let me remind you of a few things here. Justin Herbert, despite his incredible rookie season and improvement on and off the field, is a rookie quarterback.
Hopkins 5 for 55 today. Gilmore must have done a good job.
Justin Herbert, rookie quarterback on the football field. Bill Belichick, killer of rookie quarterbacks. Miami Dolphins did a nice job against Justin Herbert. That defensive scheme, Brian Flores, same defensive scheme that Bill Belichick
Sounds like
runs.
we go Seattle -0.5 and New England +7.5. I'm going to call this the Super Bowl 54 teaser.
I don't hate it. I don't like
I'm
teasing,
naming teasers after people.
I don't like
and
not
games
getting
like
8.
Andy Molitor, our friend.
I don't like not getting to 8, but
Is it Super Bowl 54? Am I right? No,
Here we are.
that was just last year. Okay, Super Bowl 50? No, 51. Super Bowl 51 teaser.
Okay, next game.
49.
We're staying on the West Coast. Los Angeles Rams are going to the Arizona Cardinals. By the way, you know what was even more impressive about what the Niners did today to the Rams?
They melted down in the middle of the game.
They found out that they couldn't play in their home stadium for like 3 straight weeks on the bus after landing in Los Angeles.
So what happens on Monday night? Where do they play? Do they play at like...
Rumor is it's going to be in Arizona.
They're going to play at in Glendale.
That's what I...
You know, the last time, George, by the way, I'm a little history lesson. 1989.
Maybe we shouldn't have done caffeine. I don't know.
Do you know that the San Francisco 49ers once went 2 straight years without losing a road game? 89 and 1990, they won 16 straight road games. Mm-hmm. But the more impressive part was in 1989. What was you're from the Bay Area. What was a history thing that happened? A
seminal moment in 1989. Yeah. Yes, the earthquake.
Right. So the Niners not only played on the road and won 8 road games, they also played at like Stanford for like 3 of their home games.
Because of that.
And won all them. So they are a team that in their history have won faux home games.
Faux?
Faux.
If there's anyone that's overcoming that, it is Kyle Shanahan.
2.5. My issue is how explosive the Bills can be. But I do think that they're a good teaser leg.
I'm sorry, what?
The Niners.
We're talking about Rams-Cardinals.
Oh, we're not talking about Rams. Okay. You don't think Bills-Niners is a good game?
I do. It's the next one on the list. I guess that Arizona would be a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Rams.
I guessed LAR -2.5 on the road.
Oh, wow. We're really on different planets here. What is it?
Rams are -1.5 on the road.
Yeah. I mean, sure. 1.5 either direction. It doesn't really excite me.
Are the Rams a team that can separate with because then you could tease the zone of Cardinals out to 2.5.
I'm a little nervous about the Arizona Cardinals. I got to be honest with you. But they played in New England on the road, a little banged up Kyler Murray. I don't know. I don't have a desire to bet this game. I feel like either one of these teams could show up or not.
Arizona was a road team at a 1:00 game, but coming off of a 10 days rest. There were a lot of things that were positive in their direction. They got out to a lead. They should have scored at the end of the half to go up 7. Instead, they got nothing.
Yep.
The Rams.
They didn't have Larry Fitz either.
Yeah. The Rams really just shit themselves again. I mean, they got lucky. The Niners should have blown them out.
Jared Goff looked. Baker Mayfield lost. Okay, let's move on. The next game that I had was Bills and Niners. And I said this should be a pick.
I'm wrong too. I said San Francisco -2.5, and it is Buffalo -2.5.
Yeah,
So
could
we
have told you the Niners weren't going to be favored here.
So I thought the Niners would win today, and I was right.
I like the Niners in a teaser, maybe even more than I like the Patriots in a teaser.
Okay, well, we could do that one thing we did that one week and round robin.
Just give you the bunch. Just teaser season, baby.
Teasing.
I need Tantillo. Can you get that GIF there, please? Because at least tonight you're dressed, professionally. So that little whatever that was is going to be great. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Buffalo traveling to wherever the hell San Francisco is playing. It's going to be a road game for both teams. But I think the interesting thing here is San Francisco getting healthier. But on offense, they will get Ayuk back, or at least they should.
Samuel was dominant today.
Samuel was awesome, but now they're going to have two of him. Mm-hmm. And there's no way that the Buffalo defense
is also one of the softest defenses in the entire league. So
yes, correct. Okay, are you ready to move on? The rest of these games are all whatever. So Here we go. These are some meh games. Cleveland at Tennessee. Our Titans.
I said Tennessee would be favored by 4.5.
Okay, I had Tennessee favored by 5.5.
Wow. Okay. Tennessee's favored by 4. So we both like the Titans here.
I mean, what's not to like?
The Titans are soft, and Cleveland runs the ball really well.
Yeah, I mean Cleveland runs the ball really well.
Anderson Dejo biting on play action all game against those two wide receivers is my heroine.
I mean, Cleveland runs the ball really well, and yet couldn't put Jacksonville and Mike Glennon away.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I mean,
Baker's gonna miss so like.
Cleveland is a team that I just want to fade. I just want to fade them.
Here's the question though, when we think about these things. So I already bet New England at +2.5. It got down to 1.5. So, like, clearly that teaser is not quite as good because you're not getting the 8. Mm-hmm. We needed the 8 when we had LAC the other day. Arizona +8.5. Like, I think that's kind of going to stay where it is. San Francisco 8.5. I think it's kind of going to stay where that is. Cleveland has been for one, Tennessee has been a public fade this year in many ways, mm-hmm. right? When they had the Tuesday night game against the Bills, they were huge underdogs at home. There was a Dan, the guy that runs Fairlay Betting, said a ton of Indianapolis money today. Tennessee, when they played Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh got a ton of money in that game. Do we wait until this thing gets down to like 3?
Oh my God, you think it gets down to 3?
Look, Cleveland has been, dude. Remember when Cleveland played Dallas? Dallas had Dak, and they were on the road, and they took a ton of money. They took a ton of money in the Pittsburgh game too.
Okay, but
and they took a ton of money in this Jacksonville game.
You know what we're getting this week? One of my favorite weeks of the year. You know what this week is?
Oh, the season starts this week because it's Thanksgiving.
Derrick Henry MVP conversation week. Here it comes. Get your tweets ready.
See, but that's like the markets don't move off of public money.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Move off of like sharp people's money.
I get that. I'm just saying.
And the sharps.
What sharp person is betting on the Cleveland Browns after that performance today?
Defense. They overrate defense, man. Like Myles Garrett will be back. Blah blah blah. Right.
He will be.
Tennessee's defense is garbage. Home field advantage in Nashville is nothing. Right. Mm-hmm. The only person there is like Clay Travis when he at the game.
A friend.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm willing to wait and see.
So that'd be my thought is like you might not be getting the best of the number, and this show is about getting the best of the number, which you might not be getting.
Next game, Indy, Houston. I don't know why this didn't make the top tier, but probably because Philip Rivers shot puts the ball, and Houston is, they beat Detroit, but okay. I have Houston at home as a 3-point underdog.
Same as you. I have the same as you, and let's look. It is 3. We all agree.
I'm here for Deshaun Watson in this game.
But since we guessed the number.
Right, I know. I'm just saying. But I'm here for it. Do you think this gets to 2.5?
No.
I don't either. I think a lot of Indy money would come in if it did.
For the reason I liked Indy against Green Bay, people love Indy. People love Frank Reich, great coach. They love toughness, I mean, not having Buckner today probably mattered. Not having Okereke there probably mattered. But people are going to overreact to that in a game. Getting all those guys back, people are going to be like, oh, and like.
Okay. Better quarterback at home getting points. You're welcome. Okay, let's move onward here. Let's go to New Orleans, Atlanta. In Hotlanta, Raheem Morris, 4-2 as a head coach. Just saying. There's no way he stays. I'm sorry.
Second half of the season, Falcons.
It ain't going to happen. Okay, Taysom Hill versus Matt Ryan. Maybe Julio Jones is back. Atlanta is not dead, by the way. Not dead yet.
By the way, did I get mocked and ridiculed on the show today for taking Atlanta? I was the one brave soul.
I bet on them earlier in the week, but yes.
Yeah. That's true. You got a better. Yeah. I have Atlanta 3-point underdogs at home.
Okay, I had 3.5.
It's 3.5. So,
look, I can tell you when there's going to be a little Taysom Hill.
You know that the people are going to like Atlanta this week. You know it. Like home.
I'm just glad we guessed the number so that we don't have to don't have to write it up.
Yeah. Nah.
I mean, Atlanta will have an opportunity to play spoiler. Here's the tough thing: is Atlanta's defense is so undisciplined. Like Sean Payton's going to come in here and just it's so hard to bet against Sean Payton, especially in interdivision. He just owns the Falcons. Sean Payton has probably a really nice house in New Orleans. Probably drives a Mercedes-Benz SL 500 and also has the Atlanta Falcons in a doghouse in his backyard.
I mean, Taysom Hill was beige today.
He was terrible.
This is like,
but it didn't matter because Cordell Hinton or whatever his name was playing.
Cordell Stewart.
Poor guy. He must have been so
They should
terrified.
They should give him $100,000 bonus.
They give something.
I mean, for fuck's sake, like. You just put this guy out to slaughter. Like the Saints aren't even a bad defense; they're a good defense. Hendrickson, Davenport,
dude, yeah,
Cameron Jordan, all men. Like you're out there, you're like a toothpick out there you're doing that mesh read thing. For fuck, like
dude, it was tough. It was tough to watch.
Go get him, son. It was like in fucking Not Another Teen Movie where like Marty gets fucking split in half in the end zone when he tries to catch a ball, and they're like, do it for Marty's torso.
Yep,
like that's how Hinton looked like out there.
Sunday Night Football, Denver, speaking of Hinton, in Kansas City. What'd you guess this was going to be?
I'm an idiot. I said, well, they already hung the number up, which tells you everything you need to know about Drew Lock and like the relative importance thereof. So I kind of still thought there would be quarterback uncertainty. I said KC minus 16.5.
I'm not too far off. I said Kansas City minus 14.
It's minus 13.5. Do we just write this up then?
Okay, so I had 13.5, and then I thought to myself, Drew Lock
sucks.
Not very good at football. Not very good at throwing accurate passes.
The only thing that can hurt this is like legitimately a COVID outbreak for the Chiefs, but they seem to have been a team that has mostly avoided such things.
Here's what I'm going to say. Here's why I don't want to write this one up. Kansas City came out and absolutely put a smackdown on Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Okay? They lit the world on fire, and they didn't cover.
Kansas City, depending upon when you got it, are 0-3 their last 3 against the number. That's important.
I was the lone brave soul, by the way, that
you did.
That
You were
Tom
good.
Brady plus 3.5, and he squeaked in through the back door. But it's not about Drew Lock. It's more about the simple fact that when teams play Kansas City, they're playing the defending Super Bowl champion. They're going to pull out all the stops. They're going to, they finally got a quarterback. They're going to, try everything they possibly can. And probably a bit of a letdown spot for Kansas City if there is such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't want to write it up.
Okay. So the Chiefs' upcoming schedule, Dolphins, Broncos, but then they have the Saints. Like they have to basically win out because of the way Pittsburgh's playing. But yeah, there could be letdowns here where they just kind of hashtag just win the game type of thing, much like today where they just kind of hang on at the end, similar fashion to the way that they played the Raiders game in the sense of just get out of there with a win type of thing.
Let me ask you this. Mahomes to Hill was incredible today. Poor Carlton Davis. Clearly, they did not quite understand. How
They didn't even
Tyreek
need to
Hill.
go after Murphy Bunting and Devin White as much because their best is better than your best.
Yeah, because Tyreek Hill's running just wide open everywhere. Mahomes to Hill, is that the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the NFL?
Yeah. I mean, it almost has to be. Because the wide receiver, so who's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now?
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, is Rodgers that much like Mahomes is how much better than Rodgers? Well, like the sliding scale. Like if Mahomes, I guess Mahomes and Rodgers are similar to each other, right?
If you're listening to this and not watching it on YouTube, you're missing out. Okay, so there's Rodgers, Adams. There's Mahomes, Hill. I don't know who else you'd even put in this conversation.
Mahomes is so much better than the next best quarterback, though, that you can make a decent argument.
You could maybe put Watson and Fuller in there.
You make a decent argument. You can make a decent argument that Hill, you have seen Hill with Alex Smith, so there's legitimate terms where he's I think it's Hill, Mahomes, but
okay, I'm gonna go Rodgers and Adams, and here's why. Rodgers and Adams are more so Mahomes and Hill are explosive, obviously way more explosive than Adams to Rodgers. But if you had to get open in tight space, I'm here for Devontae Adams.
I'm here for this so I didn't realize Tyreek has 13 touchdowns, 68 catches, 1,021 yards, 13 touchdowns. I'll say this. Adams Rodgers is the most essential quarterback wide receiver combo to their team by a country mile. With Tyreek Hill could have games. Now, the last 3 games, we talk about the Chiefs not covering. Hill's had 100 yards and a touchdown or more in every single game. But there are games where he disappears because of the flow of the game. The Chiefs offense works a certain way. And so I don't think he's nearly as essential as Adams is, right, to Rodgers. But I think the output is probably better still.
Yeah, but you can't measure. If you're just looking at output, you're going to be that's an offensive thing. And obviously Andy Reid's offense is better than Matt LaFleur's
because Hill was shy of 100 yards every single game until week 9. He had a 99 and 98 yard game, but he was shy of 100 yards, and then the last 3 games has been over 100. He kind of was getting 6 targets a game for a while because Kelsey was having a career year, and Watkins and all that kind of stuff. You take Watkins out of the equation, and Hill has stepped up. The Packers don't have that secondary player.
Oh, they don't.
So Adams is the most essential receiver.
Devontae Adams is going
offense,
and getting
than maybe
open.
Galladay.
Devontae Adams is getting open despite the fact that the defense doesn't care about anyone else on his team.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, at least Travis Kelce, demands a heck of a lot of attention. Anyways, okay, the rest of these games are, we can move quickly. Washington, Pittsburgh. I don't know if there's even a lineup for this. I guess there would be Pittsburgh by 13.5 at home. Is there one? I don't even have them up.
I said 9.5. I might be an idiot. Alex
Smith against that Pittsburgh defense?
Yeah.
That's going to be rough for him.
But Washington's defense is legit.
Yeah.
Except for Ronald Darby. I mean, dude, Austin's
this will also be on short
Ronald
rest.
Darby.
That's good. That's good.
Short. And that was also what I thought about was short rest for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And long rest for Washington because they played on Thursday.
That's very fair. I think I was probably too heavy on this. All right. Las Vegas in New York to play the Jets. By the way, if they had beaten the Falcons, this would have been the letdown spot.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
But by the way, did we not nail the Vegas Raiders?
Yes.
That was the classic letdown. Why are you freaking favored against? Why are you favored by 3 points against an NFL quarterback on the road when you're the Raiders?
Okay, so the same question stands. What did you guess?
7.5.
I said 6.5.
It is 7.5.
Wow.
I mean,
I guess I like the Jets. I do like the Jets.
We like the Jets today too, and they fucking let us down.
Yeah,
brutal.
But that's because Sam Darnold does not do well against the New England Patriots.
I like
defense.
that. I like the way you think.
The formerly Oakland Raiders. The artist
Are
formerly
they
known as the Oakland Raiders.
Are they like puppets coming down in the stadium and just bouncing up and down?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, I'm on the Jets again. That means I'm sharp. Of course. Whatever. Square. Okay, Jacksonville, Minnesota. Your Vikings. I guess that the Vikings would be an 8.5-point favorite at home against the Jacksonville
I
Jaguars.
said 9.5.
Ooh,
It is 9.5.
interesting.
I mean,
Are the Vikings really pulling away from teams, though? I guess that's my question.
they
Now,
covered.
the Jags suck, but
Yeah, but the Panthers suck too. That was the whole. I'm going to write an article about this, but that's like the whole thing when you're Mr. Smock and you run, you kick a field goal to go up 6. When your defense is absolute butt cheeks, right? Mm-hmm. And like what we didn't see today when we were on the show. I mean, didn't Chad Beebe have like 7 catches for 80 yards? Like they're terrible. Kyle Rudolph blast from the pass, like 80-something yards in the air. Cousins is playing really well. They're like, there's really no way to like sort of
he is playing
square
really well.
it. The problem is the rest of the Vikings roster, because Cousins' contract in many ways, and because of the way that they planned it all out, is garbage shoot. Like there were 46 seconds left on the clock for Teddy, and he got them in field goal range with seconds to spare. And if the kicker makes an NFL kick, the Vikings lose that game at home. You're 0-2 on the first 2 games of the 3-game homestand.
Joey Sly, by the way, the kicker
Yeah.
for Carolina, comes up there, and it's the same mentality I have when I'm about to hit driver on hole number 18.
Yeah.
It's like, I could swing nice and easy and hit it down the middle and give myself a chance. No, absolutely not. I'm going to pipe the living hell out of this thing, even though I don't need to, and just hooks the living hell out of it. That's what he did.
I think he's tilted from the game where they were in New Orleans and he had like a 65-yarder and he kicked it and it was true, but it was short.
It was
so
short.
then when he had the kick against the Chiefs, it had all the distance in the world, but it was wide right, and then of course against Minnesota it's wide left. Teddy Bridgewater, by the way, his last 2 starts in the state of Minnesota both ended in wide left, unfortunately.
Yeah, you see that?
5 years apart, but
Kind of like the Jags.
Jags play hard. The Vikings suck. I mean, like
The Vikings should really be 9.5-point favorites against any non-NFC East/Jets team.
Let's go Jaguars plus 9.5 in a write-up, and because this will get down to 7.5, and people will get value like that. It's the same thing with the Bears, right? The Bears opened at 9.5, or it was like 8.5, got up to 10. What did it close today? 7.5. Like people like these big underdogs, especially in a year like this. If you have a ton of COVID stuff, it's going to be one directional. Like the Jaguars already suck, whereas like the Vikings, if they have some COVID shit, it's going to affect them way more because they're already a decent team. So let's go. Yeah, put.
By the way,
Jags.
Justin Jefferson was amazing today, despite not having Adam Thielen. The guy's really good.
And they didn't target him nearly enough.
No.
Gritty
Does it
gradient.
surprise you though?
Gritty gradient. Throw the ball to the gritty.
I'd pay to see you do the gritty.
There may or may not be a video at my house of me with a touchdown dance during a college game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do I need to ask the
Well,
eager
you
ladies
sever.
about that?
Yeah. Well,
I'll do my best. Okay. Next one, Cincinnati, Miami. This would have been a great game. Tua, Burrow. Not anymore. That sucks. I had Miami 9.5-point favorites.
same. Is it up there? Yeah, it's 11.5. Holy shit. I'm not touching it with a 40-foot pole though because Brandon Allen is butt. There's no way.
Yeah, I can't.
The Bengals were game today. Their defense played well.
So sidebar, the New York Giants are not very good. That is a very important fact that needs to be remembered here. The Miami Dolphins are good. Mm-hmm. This is the Tua get right game. Comes back, he's healthy. The Bengals, nothing. Just Tua's throwing darts.
Yep.
That's what this is.
By the way, some of the futures we've written up over the past 2 weeks. Miami make the playoffs 184. That's looking pretty nice. Mm-hmm. Colts, sneaky. Missed the playoffs plus 114 after the loss today. Kind of looking good. Philly missed the playoffs plus 154. Cleveland make the playoffs minus 245. That's only going to get bigger. So I agree. This is a Tua get right game. This is a Dolphins on the road to the playoffs game.
Yeah, but that's a high number. Okay, Detroit, Chicago.
No.
Oh
my God, my number sucks.
I had Chicago favored by 2.5.
Is it up even? I had Chicago favored by 2.5 too. That number's garbage. This game's a pick 'em after tonight's game.
I'd agree.
I don't see it up yet, so that's my problem.
Damn it.
If it is Chicago minus 2.5, Detroit plus 8.5 is a tease.
Absolutely. 1,000%. It won't let us down.
Trubisky.
Be you, buddy. Just be you.
Oh well.
We don't need to read
How did the Bears beat Tampa Bay?
Have you watched the Tampa Bay offense? That's how.
Yes, but
Leonard, all you need to know about the Tampa Bay offense is that they think Leonard Fournette is a good pass catching back. That's all you need to know.
How much different is this season if the Bears let the universe unfold as it should? The Lions would have another win. They'd be 5-6 on their way to their win total. The Falcons would have another win, 5-6 on the way to instead, the Bears had to go fuck it up for no reason. Zero reason. There was no reason for the Bears to win those games other than to do what?
Screw themselves.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing. They're very good at it, though.
I mean, even if they lost to the Giants, they would have been. The Giants
very few organizations
have the NFC East by the balls.
Very few organizations that are better at sucking than the Chicago Bears.
Well, but sucking in like a non-sucky way. Like their record being 5-6 right now is totally like, oh, let's trade for Khalil Mack.
Right. No, they do a great job of keeping their fans around.
Yeah.
Enticed.
Yeah.
Like our friend Robert Mays is just pit of misery right now.
They could have Bridgewater. Teddy has this team where?
I mean, in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so.
He can hit a receiver that's wide open 10 yards downfield.
He can move around a little bit in the pocket.
It's risky and Foles are bad. Okay. Giants, Seahawks in Seattle. I had the Seahawks favored by 8.5.
7.5.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. It's not up on
it's not up.
online. But they play, they play tomorrow.
Yeah, the Giants not very good.
Yeah, brutal.
Also, actually, the reason it's probably not up is Daniel Jones got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's not up.
Colt McCoy.
If Colt McCoy plays, this is like 13.5, 14. Philly, Green Bay in Lambeau.
I said Green Bay minus 7.5.
I have Green Bay minus 10.5.
I don't see that up either because Philly plays tonight.
What the? I bet you we can find something here. I mean, how could you have this under 10?
I don't know, man.
The Eagles are not very good. Wow. Before Sunday night, it was Green Bay minus 7.
Which I think I did bet, actually.
Holy cow.
I'm looking at my... Oh, yeah, we bet that. I mean, that's such a soft number.
That's absurd.
Yeah. Yep.
Buffalo minus 3 versus San Francisco, wherever played. Man. Okay, last one, I believe, is Dallas at Baltimore.
But I said, Baltimore minus 7.5 if Lamar plays.
I had Baltimore minus 6.5.
Yeah, I don't know what it's...
There's no line.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know, right? Like
Tampa Bay and Carolina both have buys this week. I hope Tampa Bay uses their bye to go back and watch film from the Kansas City offense and realize that maybe they should do some things that are from this century. That would be my recommendation. Okay, that was our show. There are 2 more Week 12 games to be played, so you can check out all the stuff that we have on pff.com. We'll be doing some props live streams tomorrow. That'll be fun. And hope you enjoy both those games. Hopefully the COVID outbreak in Baltimore has stopped and we can get that game played. We'll see you guys. Peace out. Oh, wait, hold on. I should mention. We have a very fun episode coming up on Wednesday.
Yes, we do.
Darius Butler is joining us. He's great. Former Colts DB. He loves coverage. We love coverage. We're also going to argue about the Steelers because he feels very strongly about it. And I still feel as though I am right. They are overrated. So you're welcome. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Peace out.
Thanks for watching the PFF YouTube channel. And if you want to subscribe, all you have to do is push the button. Don't forget everything you get. A little fantasy, push the button. A little green line for the gambling aspects of the game, push the button. College football, push the button. The YouTube channel from PFF.